Hey, what up, YouTube? It's your boy, the Visionary. Welcome to another episode of Firesidechats, bringing you the latest in current events and news that matter to me the most. Today's episode is just going to be a precursor to a series that I'm going to be titling Phases of the Shift. And basically this series is detailing the very basic changes in American culture and society as it's happening now. As the aftermath of the Iraq-Afghanistan war and 9/11 and the war on terror and all these other things, because it's very important that we sit down and talk about what's going on, because there have been some very fundamental shifts and changes in American culture, government institutions, and society as we know it, and these things are really being pushed, you know what I mean? We need to really start focusing on these things, because now the massive push is happening. You know, the neocons, the liberals, the conservatives. These groups, these names are nothing more than just names. These people are actually working together to get these new shifts and changes to happen, period. And we need to combat these things, so they're very dangerous. And what we need to focus on is the different, I would say, fields of interest that are specific to American society. You know, we need to focus on education, the economy, government, social institutions, these sort of things, because if you've been paying attention, there have been a lot of things that have been happening within the past 2 or 3 years that most people have not been paying attention to. Well, I would say most people who are not into politics and government and whatnot, these laws and whatnot have been going down and been being pushed, and no one has been standing up and fighting them. In particular, you remember the whole Monsanto situation where the Obama administration, along with Monsanto representatives or former Monsanto representatives, sat down and wrote a law specifically protecting Monsanto from from federal persecution if they if their foods have been found out to cause any sort of harm or whatever it is, and yada yada yada. I think just recently, probably like a few weeks ago, like a few months ago, some of those laws have been overturned, but there's still something on the books. But then again, it's still indicative of basically fascism, you know what I mean? Because you have the Obama administration in bed with the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, along with the former guy that sat on as the head of the Monsanto, the Monsanto board in and of itself, and he elects him to be the head of the FDA, and then they sit down and go, okay, we're going to create a law specifically to protect Monsanto. You know what I mean? That's very fucking dangerous. That's basically fascism. But lucky for us, there have been people fighting in Congress and Senate, and, grassroots movements that have been springing up all over the place, especially if you check out your Facebook page, my wall, it's littered with, anti-Monsanto stuff, anti-Monsanto groups and organizations and grassroots organizations that have been combating what's been going on in regards to government and Senate and all these laws that are being passed. So yeah, pay attention to that. That's just from the food industry or the field of agriculture and food specifically. Then if you go into education, there's this thing called a new core curriculum called Common Core, and this is something that has been on the books for like the past 2 or 3 years. Funny thing about it, which scares me the most about Common Core, is the fact that before I even knew about it, right? There's this book that I picked up that I found online, PDF of this woman called Charlotte Iserby, and she wrote the book, and the book is titled The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. And in her book, she details the structured agenda from the left, from some conservatives, from I guess the general makeup of the conspirators involved in the deliberate dumbing down of America. It was basically a far left, radical left, communist, whatever you want to call it, pseudo occult bullshit where they infiltrated the United States and whatever, and the entire plan is to basically corrupt and stupefy the American people through the education system. And one of the things she talked about is when she went over the actual fundamental ideology backing this was that along with the actual academic studies and all the theories that have been proven and that they're trying to implement, was the whole thing that she basically foresaw that there was going to be some sort of program or some sort of curriculum, some sort of new curriculum that they're going to try to pass once you get to the point of, I would say, critical mass. And critical mass is basically when we get to a point where the education system can no longer fulfill the duties that we've instilled upon it, right? It's not doing what it's supposed to do, and that's not because of the institutions, but it's because specifically the curriculum that they've been teaching already has been created to fuck and mentally fuck people up. They wanted to do this so they can implement a new form of curriculum that does an even worse job than what the fuck is going on before. So in her book, she basically says, without saying Common Core, that they're going to, in the future, in order to present a problem for present a solution to the problem that's popping up. Basically, you know, problem answer solution. Basically, the Hegelian dialectic. They're going to come up with a program. They're going to introduce it into the academic curriculum, and they're going to use different ways in order to bypass the whole states have fundamental power to decide what the education is and yada yada. So this is what they're doing, you know what I mean? That's what it said in the book. They're going to create some program, some sort of academic agenda or curriculum that it's going to try to get everyone in line, but its real fundamental purpose is to fuck everyone's educational understanding up, and that's what's happening. Now comes Common Core. That's one of the other big things that's on the horizon right now and people need to talk about. Another thing that people are talking right now, that's another big issue I think might be on, it's above the Common Core issue, because the Common Core is the second most important thing we need to talk about right now, because it deals with our kids' future. Now, what's happened is the passing of the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, this is basically a super steroid version of the NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, that happened in like the early 90s. And basically this is a treaty agreement between, you can say, the United States government, the United States, the EU, and a consortium, I would say, corporations, where the UN, right? The law itself basically guarantees a sort of blanket overturn of any law that's within sovereign states. So basically, whenever there's a conflict between federal law of any given country or whatever that's included as a partner in these treaties, and whatever the UN passes, the UN, along with the corporations, if it's something that has to do with economics, business, corporate law, those laws can supersede what the fuck happens in these countries. And that's very fucking dangerous, that now you have NATO along with corporations, you know, aka false personhood, are able to, you know, get laws passed, and once they get it through the UN and accept it, then all of a sudden anything that's considered federal or state laws that, you know, we hold dear, it can be superseded and say, fuck that, no, you don't get to do whatever, and yada yada yada. That's something that people need to talk about, because there's more to that than I'm explaining. And this is what the video series is going to be about. So it's going to be about the Common Core. It's going to be about the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, and then it's going to be about basically laws that people don't talk about and documents that we really need to think about. All right, thank you for listening. Take care. Peace.